Hey guys, I'm the Coaster Keat, and welcome back to Moral Machine, a game that I really didn't think I'd be returning to, but had this wonderful idea for a video for today. So, what we are going to be doing today is instead of going through this whole morality thing using my own perspectives, we're going to be tackling it using Matti Hari. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name. This guy's perspectives on dignity. Now, dignity is a word that we throw around a lot in these fields, and it essentially equates to humanity or self-worth. It's a very hard to define word, but what you need to understand from it is it's essentially who matters and who doesn't. And so what this guy does in this paper is go over these very different versions of dignity. And so we've got the Catholic one, dignity of God. We have the dignity of genes. We have the dignity of reason, which is the Kantian perspective, and then we have the dignity of sentient beings, which is the Utilitarian perspective. So really quickly, before we go through each one, I'm going to just go ahead and give you, I'm not going to read this to you. You can go ahead, I'll try to find a link to this paper to put in the description, but you can go ahead and read that on your own time. I'm just going to be giving you the quote and then the essentially what he got from that quote in as short terms as possible so that we can get right into the choices. So for the dignity of God, or the Catholic perspective, he uses this quote: "All men are equal. There is no difference between rich and poor, master and servant, ruler and ruled, for the same Lord is over all. No man may with impunity outrage that human dignity which God himself treats with great reverence, nor stand in the way of that higher life which is the preparation of the eternal life of heaven. Nay, more, no man has in this matter power over himself, for it is not man's own rights which are here in question, but the rights of God, the most sacred and inviolable of rights." So he comes down to these conclusions. Dignity comes from God. All human beings are equal regardless of status. Interestingly, the unborn human beings are included in this group. This includes people who are disabled, unable to communicate with others, and then non-human beings do not have this kind of dignity, and the dignity of individuals must also be protected against themselves. So what does this all mean? Well, we're gonna go ahead and hop right into Moral Machine to find out. So the first and most important rule, I think, is the fact that all people are considered equal. So very similarly to what I had last time, we're going to be generally choosing the situations where more people live. But here is where we'll start running into problems. You have the self-driving car going on its own path, or the self-driving car diverting over here. Now, since every one of these people is, a person, we can't use that fact to try and decide here. So we also can't use any ratios of elderly to normal because those are all the same. And then we have the dignity of individuals must also be protected against themselves. And so technically speaking, if we want to protect them against themselves, we would be putting others in danger. And I am going to be using that definition that you should protect them against themselves, and I know that there are different ways to interpret this, but I'm going to say that we're going to redirect for that reason. Here we have humans versus animals, and unfortunately, unlike my last video, we have to kill the animals because humans have more dignity than animals. Here we have a dilemma where there are people in the car versus people on the street, and again they must be protected from themselves. So again, we're gonna have the situation where they're going to kill the other people rather than killing themselves because they need to be protected from themselves, and that's kind of the car's job in this case. Alright, now we've got a dog, okay. So we have two dogs, but also two people in the car versus one person crossing the street. So in this case, not only because they need to be protected from themselves, but also because of the greater number of lives, we're going to go with this one. Alright, now we have the elderly versus the normal, and this quite literally has no choice other than protect them from themselves, so we are gonna run over this poor young lady over here. Alright, here we have, again, same amount of people, but again, protecting from yourselves, you gotta run over if the amount is equal. And again, this very annoying situation where you have the exact same number of people, and last time we went swerve, so we have to go swerve again. Animals or people, we're gonna have to kill the animals. And then we have 2 versus 4 people. Well, of course, we're going to kill the 2, and it also follows our protecting the people rule. So definitely going with that one. Okay, now we've got 5 versus 5, and it doesn't matter that they're homeless or whatever because we are all equal in dignity, but we are protecting ourselves. So we're doing that one. And alright, one of our last ones here. They're exactly the same. We said swerve in this scenario, we're going swerve again. And here they are exactly the same, so we're swerving again. And we all know that these results are BS, so we're not gonna go over them. We are just going to go ahead and move on. So, next, that was the Catholic perspective. And I will admit that it is an interesting, this sentence is the most interesting one in my opinion, the one that I can't seem to highlight right now. That the dignity of individuals must also be protected against themselves. In the self-driving car scenario, that's very interesting because that means that artificial intelligence has the job to protect ourselves ultimately. Okay, the next one is the Kantian perspective, created by Immanuel Kant, and he wrote that man as a person, i.e., as the subject of a morally practical reason, is exalted above all price. For as such a one, homo nomenon, he is not to be valued merely as a means to the ends of other people, or even to his own ends, but is to be prized as an end in himself. That is to say, he possesses a dignity, an absolute inner worth, whereby he exacts the respect of all rational beings in the world, and can esteem himself on a footing of equality with them. So this is dignity via reason. So the way that this is going to generally work, there's the same kind of rule, I feel, with numbers generally, but there is now an added rule that the more reasonable that you are, the more kind of worthy you are. So your rationality equals your dignity, and therefore the younger you are, it's kind of the less dignity that you have. And yes, you do have this potential for dignity, but I would argue that in this situation here, so unborn and uncommunicative human beings cannot be automatically included in this group. So a strict application of these principles, individuals with intellectual disabilities will not be treated the same as others, and also infants who do not have as much reason will not be treated with the same respect. Now, of course, they start us off with this, which is they're the same age, they're the same wisdom, it's just one is athletic and the other is not. So in this case, I guess, this is a very hard decision because I have met a lot of athletic people who are really smart, but I've met a lot of non-athletic people who are really smart. So really, this is just a flip of the coin. And he doesn't really seem to care about anything like, I don't know, the car protecting its person. And there's no one in there, in the car. But he's a very rational guy. Their social dignity must be protected against themselves. We're going to go ahead and in this situation, we're going to say that we're just going to keep on going. So if I can't find a clear decision, they're just going to keep on going. Wow, okay, the person in the car or the person that's there? Well, I feel like the rationality standpoint is interesting, but this person is flaunting the law. So since they are flaunting the law, they deserve to get run over because they are not a rational human being. There we go. Okay, now we have this. So we have an athlete, an elderly, and an overweight elderly. So same people. It's just, does it divert or does it keep going? And I should say it keeps going. All right, now we have these people, and we have the homeless. Now, the homeless are probably not going to be as rational, and that is a very stereotypical thing. But I think for this argument, for the Kantian point of view, we're going to have to say that this is the correct thing. And I think that if you can afford one of these cars, you probably have a lot of money, so you probably have some rationality, just for the sake of going through it. All right, for this next one, why do we have this situation again? Stop giving me this situation. We're just going to go straight on through as we did last time. All right, there's a homeless person, a dog, and a person. So exact same people again. It's just one it keeps going and the other it diverts. So we're going to go ahead and keep on going. Here we have 5 versus 5, and it's males versus females. Well then, this does not have any bearing, I don't feel, on my decision. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, so it's exactly the same situation, except you've got females and you've got males. And the truth is that neither one is more rational, so we're just going to have to keep on going, because that's the decision that we make when there's no better one. Okay, here's the one I wanted. So, you have the elderly versus the child. And for this thing, this child has less rationality than these elderly, who assumedly have lived the world over. And so they are actually going to be given priority in this situation. Okay, here we have an elderly, a homeless. Oh, it's just animals. Well, animals aren't reasonable, so we're just going to plow over them. Those poor, poor animals. We have just a straight up burglar, and a doctor. Oh no, this is a problem. So here we have an executive, a doctor, and over here you've got a homeless man. I think that the executive and the doctor overwhelmed the criminal and also the elderly man, compared to this situation. They both have the elderly man, but the executive and the doctor are more. So we're going to go ahead and save that criminal, because in the Kantian approach, that doctor and that executive are extremely valuable, especially when compared to the nearly valueless children. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. Here we have, oh, well, this is an easy one. These people look educated, these people don't, so run them over, guys. Okay, here we have a doctor on both sides, but there's more people over here. There's also an executive over here, so we are probably going to go ahead and run over the 3 people rather than the 5. And then the very last decision, you've got just more rational human beings than this one person, so they're just going to get run over. Alright, cool. So that's the Kantian approach. And we are now going to quickly run through, so the genetic approach. Now, I was thinking about how to do this one, because essentially the way that this definition reads is that if you are unique genetically, we all have a right to be unique genetically. That's essentially what this definition says. And the thing is, these characters are not unique genetically. You know what I mean? They are identical. So this run, what we are going to be doing is trying to eliminate the most twins that we can, because that's essentially what the this definition comes down to, is if you have the right to be genetically unique, then you need to get rid of all of your genetic duplicates, right? You need to get rid of them, as some countries unfortunately do, which is extremely, right here, this group. I believe it's the Kung San of Mongolia, Botswana, and Nambia, who all killed one of the twins at birth. And so now we are going to be taking their places in this fun game to go ahead and try and get rid of the most twins possible. So it's straight up going to be how can we get rid of the most duplicates? So whichever one has the highest number here is going to be the one we get rid of. So here you see that we have 3 homeless people. So all of these homeless people are duplicated, and so they are going to go down. Alright, here we have no duplicates, it appears, which is unfortunate because that's literally our only way to decide. So then we have to go for genetics. I think it's safe to say that we have natural selection. And so then for natural selection, it's going to be the ones in the car that die as a result of their choice to buy the car. Alright, here we have, we've got 3 of these guys, so looks like they're going down. Goodbye. Okay, here we have, oh man, there are no duplicates on either side, which is a bit irritating. The only difference is that there's a criminal on one side. Well, that criminal has an equal right to be genetically different from everyone else. But then again, natural selection says that the criminal should probably die because we want there to be good genetics. But the thing is, natural selection isn't by choice. It doesn't choose. It just goes. It's a force in nature, and so in the nature of not choosing, we're just going to go straight for it. Here we have we got duplicates? Okay, we've got 2 of both the boys and the men. Now, the boys at least have a chance of perhaps growing up to be genetically different through epigenetics and all of that, so we're going to go ahead and kill off the men. I think that's a fair approach. Okay, here we have the homeless dude versus the person, but again, natural selection is blind, so we're going to go ahead and go straight. Here we have athletes versus them. Who has more? No one has more. So we can either kill the 2 male athletes or the 2 men. Those are the ones with the most replicants right there. So here, let's see. Well, we said that natural selection is blind, and it chooses the people in the car because they chose the car, so they're just gonna go ramming into the wall. Okay, here we have a doctor. Well, Miss Doctor, and they put no replication over here just to make it more difficult for me. Aw, man, all of these people, well, I guess they have more genetic variety than this one doctor, so we're gonna go ahead and get rid of the doctor in hopes that some of these people can get some more offspring into the gene pool. Okay, here we have some animals. Is literally the only difference the fact that there's a cat? No, the only difference is, hold on. Yeah, the only difference is that there's a cat, and one of them, well, that cat has more genetic variety, so we're going to go ahead and let it live. Plus, again, the fact that natural selection doesn't choose. Alright, here we have a pregnant person. Well, that gives you some added value now, doesn't it? Go ahead and kill the animals. Alright, here we have... They just give me such even numbers. They don't let me choose. It's so annoying. Oh, this is the classic females versus males again. Well, we're just gonna... Whoever bought the car is going into the barrier, so goodbye. Here, again, is this the same number of people? They do this so often. So irritating. These guys, not only are they flaunting the law, but they are in the direct path, so again, going with them. And then here, I believe that people genetics are slightly more valuable than the animal genetics, so we're going to go ahead and wipe them out. No. Alright, very last one that we're going to do is the dignity of sentient beings. which is also known as the Utilitarian Perspective. And this is essentially pure numbers, and that's it. The definition is your ability to suffer. So this can be for animals, it can be for people. The only thing it's not really for is unborn beings and things like that. But for the most part, this is sheer numbers. So I'm gonna do the very quickest one, literally all numbers, and of course they start us off with the situation where there's no numbers. Okay, so it's gonna be no numbers, and then if there's no choice, the car goes straight. Okay, car goes straight. Okay, car goes straight. Give me some numbers. Nope, same. Car goes straight. Okay, we've got same numbers. Car goes straight. Oh my gosh, they're all the same numbers. Okay, this one, kinda is. Well, we are saying that unborn beings don't count. So, because they can't suffer. So, technically speaking, this one up here has more than this one, so we're gonna go ahead and wipe them out. Here, sheer numbers, car goes straight. Here, again, we have numbers, but everyone has equal value, so car goes straight. Here, again, 3 versus 3, car goes straight. Here, 2 versus 2, car goes straight. And here, we've got 5 versus 5, car goes. I picked the wrong one. Car should have gone straight. You get the idea. Here, again, you see the exact same number, and the car is going to go straight. But just want to emphasize that even if these people were switched with these animals, all these doctors, all these athletes, all of these unborn children, the decision would be the same because there's the same number of people here. So I'm going to go ahead and run them into the barrier. And again, the same number of people. So here's that situation where the animals are going to live because, yep, it's the same number of people. So, yeah, that is it. I don't know if this helped you at all. I don't know if this taught you anything at all. I hope that it at least got you a bit interested in this kind of concept of dignity, and the kind of the things that are the same between all the definitions. Like, the individual person typically has a lot of value, and numbers are typically a big factor, but also the things that kind of differ, like whether or not children are important, whether or not elderly are important, whether or not unborn children are important, whether or not being a criminal is important, because all of these things are hotly debated in the field of ethics, and especially bioethics. And I think that that's such an interesting thing to look at, because we all are trying to understand the world as fairly as possible, and yet we all end up with such different ways of understanding the world. And I just want to leave you with one of the favorite quotes that I have from my professor. And it's that rational people sometimes do and always will disagree. The fact that rational people will have disagreements, and that is a vital part of our academic discourse and life. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you all soar high and enjoy your ride of life. Bye! Oh, and the mic's here. We did it. Yeah.